Russian drones are already attacking energy facilities in NATO countries in swarms. In particular, today in Finland, Russian drones were spotted over one of the hydroelectric power plants. The same kind of drones were swarming over Germany today. The country's Ministry of Internal Affairs officially stated this, adding it is a military threat. Russian drones were also spotted in Sweden and Denmark, and all of them are circling either over energy facilities or over military bases. Sweden and Finland, without waiting for NATO's response, have already formed a strike brigade with heavy equipment and moved it toward the Russian border. Well, in the Swedish capital, they are already openly stating that they are ready to attack Russian targets if Putin doesn't calm down. And here we are already. The Washington Institute for the Study of War claims that the Russian Federation is testing NATO's air defense and gathering information to use it later in a potential war. At the same time, Sweden and Finland are already deploying artillery in Lapland, pointing it toward Russia, thus sending a signal that two large brigades are ready to open fire on the Russians if they don't calm down. My name is Pechiy. Today is September 27th. Let's discuss this topic together. There's definitely something to talk about. But before we start this episode, I want to remind you that on this YouTube channel, several news and analytical segments are released every day so that you can stay up to date with absolutely all the news. That's why I recommend subscribing to this YouTube channel, and I ask you to like and leave a detailed comment under this video so that as many viewers as possible can see this episode. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video. It says right there, support the YouTube channel Pechiy. Choose any format that's convenient for you. I will be grateful for any support you give. Or you can use the QR code on your screens. So it looks like the countries of Northern Europe are running out of patience because of Russian military provocations. Meanwhile, NATO officials are still considering how to respond to Russian drones and fighter jets in the alliance's airspace. Today, September the 27th, it became known that Sweden and Finland have jointly created a new strike brigade of about 5,000 troops which has been stationed near Finnish Lapland. Moreover, as the Swedes noted, they moved the troops right up to the Russian border so that the Russians would not feel safe while attacking European countries. It is reported that the core of the new formation consists of soldiers from the Swedish mechanized Norrbotten Brigade, which has experience in combat operations under harsh winter conditions. It consists of 5 battalions and support units. And to speed up the brigade's combat readiness, the weapons were pre-positioned in Lapland. We're talking in particular about Swedish Archer self-propelled howitzers, which can hit targets at a distance of up to 50 kilometers. And notably, all of them are deployed facing Russia. They're simply lined up along the border and pointed toward Russia. In the event of an armed conflict, the new brigade will receive air support. It will be covered by British Eurofighter and F-35 fighter jets as well as Apache attack helicopters. And along with the new NATO brigade, which will have Swedes and Finns on a permanent basis, there will also be between 5,000 and 7,000 exclusively Finnish military personnel stationed there. Here's the reason for that specific number. There are 5,000 there, and here it's between 5,000 and 7,000. Together, these Swedish and Finnish forces in terms of numbers match the Russian units that are deployed in the northern direction. So both sides are making it clear to the Russians that they are ready to defend themselves. And it's worth mentioning here that the European Union is trying to build a 3-tier defense system for the eastern flank against Russia. We're talking about 3 walls, maritime, drone, and land. The project will be carried out with Ukraine, considering Ukrainian interests. The countries of the European Union also plan to secure their eastern borders from a possible Russian invasion by creating a kind of water barrier through the restoration of wetlands. And now the Swedes and Finns have already stationed their troops on the border with the Russian Federation, and not without reason. In Rovaniemi, Finland, someone saw a drone over the Valaya-Skoski hydroelectric station and alerted police. This happened on the night of September 27th. The incident occurred in an area where a no-fly zone had actually been declared. Since August 2025, all power plants in Finland have been declared no drone zones. It is strictly forbidden to launch drones there due to the safety of the energy infrastructure. Still, the incident showed violations remain possible. And it's obvious that the Russians were testing the security measures at strategic facilities this way. In addition, Denmark confirmed that last night unknown drones were spotted over several Ministry of Defense facilities in the country. And now, I'll quote a statement from the Danish Ministry of Defense. The Danish Ministry of Defense can confirm that last night drones were spotted at several Danish Ministry of Defense facilities. Several facilities were involved. In particular, drones were spotted at several military sites at Skrydstrup Air Base and at the Jutland Dragoon Regiment. Due to an ongoing investigation, the Danish Defense Command is withholding details. The Danish Armed Forces may shoot down drones over military facilities based on specific threat and risk assessments. It became known that on the night of September 26, the flight of suspicious drones was detected in the sky over the Karlskrona archipelago in Sweden, where the country's main naval base is located. Well, now for the most important part. According to duty investigator Mattias Lundgren, it was a large drone similar to those previously spotted over Denmark from Köln. The operations center confirmed that there were at least 2 large drones involved. The police have already initiated proceedings under articles concerning violations of aviation law and the law on the protection of facilities. Investigators do not rule out that these events may be connected to recent incidents in Denmark and Norway, where drones were seen, for example, over Kastrup Airport. Let me remind you, in general, the activity of so-called unknown drones began on September 10 when about 20 Russian budget drones entered Polish airspace. But what does that have to do with today? Volodymyr Zelensky noted that at that time 92 drones were flying toward Poland, but most of them were shot down by Ukraine's defense forces. On September 22, Copenhagen Airport suspended operations due to a similar incident involving unidentified drones. Drones were also spotted over the Mermelon-le-Grand military base in northeastern France. On the night of September 25, drones were detected flying over airports in Aalborg, Esbjerg, Sønderborg, and over the Skrydstrup Air Base in Denmark. As a result, operations at Aalborg Airport were suspended. And yesterday, a swarm of drones was spotted over Germany as well, where, by the way, they are urgently changing the legislation because according to their law, they are not allowed to shoot down drones. And now, the Washington Institute for the Study of War writes that the Russian Federation is testing NATO's air defense and gathering information to use it later in a potential war with the alliance. And it's also worth mentioning that on September 25, NATO Air Force Command scrambled 2 Hungarian Gripen fighter jets to intercept Russian Su-30. Su-35 and MiG-31 fighters that were flying very close to Latvian airspace without actually entering it. Before that, 3 Russian MiG-31S actually entered Estonian airspace. As a result, the Institute for the Study of War writes ICV continues to assess that Russia is conducting a campaign aimed at testing NATO's air defense and political will, as part of broader efforts to gather operational information that it may later use in a potential future conflict against the alliance. I'll leave it at that for now. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. So tell me, how do you assess the actions of Sweden and Finland, who, as you know, are not playing around and are clearly sending combat brigades to the border with the Russians? I'll leave it at that for now. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.